All right, welcome back to part two of the One Now podcast. X and KB coming at you as we always do every week. Matt joining us here as our special guest, Matt Craig. He's in the building tonight. Appreciate everybody listening in. However you listen to your podcast, if you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate that as well. So, one thing about baseball, we know that is one place you are always going to see a good fight when a fight takes place. It's not going to be that little pushing and shoving stuff that you might see in basketball and in the NBA and stuff. No, in baseball, they go at it. You might as well think that they could be in the boxing ring the way that they go at it. And we saw that on Tuesday night in Los Angeles with the Braves and Angels going at it. Jorge Soler and Reynaldo Lopez, and they both have been suspended as a result of 7 games because of this taking place. This is a crazy one for me though, KB. I want you to go first on this one because obviously Reynaldo Lopez, Atlanta fans automatically gonna take his side right now in this given moment with that. Jorge Soler is the same dude that hit a moonshot home run in Game 6 of the 2021 World Series in Minute Maid Park in Houston. I'm sorry to bring up bad memories for you, Matt, you being an Astros fan. But Jorge Soler is the same one that hit that moonshot out of the park that pretty much helped secure the first baseball world championship coming to Atlanta in 26 years. This is a crazy one for me.
Yeah, and if you've seen the pitch before, like Soler took exception to that pitch. And, I mean, it was a wild pitch that got away from Reynaldo Lopez. And honestly, it could have been one of those ones where it may have had some intent to it. We don't know. I can't tell you because, for one, I'm not a Major League Baseball player, and for two, I'm not a pitcher. Sometimes pitchers get away, and depending on where they could go, they could be aimed at a guy's face, which could ruin their livelihood. And like you said, we got a current Brave versus regardless of where he is now, regardless of where Eddie Rosario is now, Jock Peterson, that 2021 team is cemented forever in Atlanta lore. Like you can't tell the story without Jorge Soler. Those pickups that they had in that 2021 season, every single one was needed. Every last one, from Eddie Rosario being the National League MVP. I'm sorry, not MVP, but most valuable player for that National League Championship Series, to Jorge Soler being the World Series MVP, for just basically taking like that moonshot. Like that was I think they said that was the shot heard around the world. That home run was the silencer. If you've seen that home run, Game 6, he hit that home run so hard, so loud, that literally turned towards the dugout. And that's when you knew it was a no-doubter. It went over the wall. Over the wall. So when you're talking about him, you're talking about, like I said, it's kind of like an interesting subject because, like I said, who they are and what they meant to this franchise. Jorge Soler being him and Eddie Rosario have since come back and played for the Braves again after the 2021 season, and so all in hopes of recreating the same magic that they had from the 2021 season, which never happened. But I think that it's kind of like, can't really pick sides. I think it was just a situation that happened. Shout out to Walt Wise though for the takedown of the century. You talking about what you want in your manager? That is exactly a guy who's gonna get in there to put his body on the line, and a lot of people don't know. And I just found this out myself. Black belt in Taekwondo. He's even at his advanced age, he can still get in there. He can still do what he needs to do. But what I'm saying, like I said, I love a coach that actually go out there and fight for his guys, fight with his guys. He's willing to do whatever. It was a crazy situation. I'm glad that the Braves were able to win the season series. I think that they need some momentum, and hey, if that was enough to wake them up, I mean, like I said, Braves still got one of the best rosters in not even this National League. They have one of the best rosters in the entire Major League Baseball frame. So if you want to look at it, that was crazy. But, hey, man, we always need to see a good little fight to start the season off. I don't care what people say. I love it. I love it. Because you grew up watching sports, you grew up playing sports. You know that's a part of the game. Things get heated, certain words get said, but baseball is exactly the sport. Baseball and hockey are one of the only two sports I can say we ain't finna just push and shove. We finna throw hands, and we gonna throw hands. We gonna throw hands, and that's what it's gonna be. We gonna get to it. And we gonna shake each other hand probably sometime down the line. That's what it's gonna be. But we gonna throw hands. We ain't pushing like basketball. We actually gonna fight, and I'm all for it. I'm good with it.
The crazy part, though, but you bringing hockey into the equation, though, is that they literally will take a period out of the game if a fight needs to happen in hockey, and they will let those players go at it.
I think we need to implement that in more sports. I'm actually all for it. If you want to fight so bad, show me. I don't want to see you push and then hope that teammates hold you back. Let's get you right in the middle. You throw them dukes up and let's see if you can actually, if you really want to fight that bad. Because I know some guys actually that actually are in the NBA. Isaiah Stewart. That's all they seem like they want to do. So if you want to fight so bad, I think we should take a little intermission period and y'all go out there and do what you got to do.
Hey, we gotta let David Adam Silver hear. I'm about to say David Stern. We gotta let Adam Silver hear about this. We gotta get him on. We gotta add that to the collective bargaining agreement. We gotta start having at least one. Let's broad it out. We hadn't let it all out, and we're gonna start back playing. But KB as someone who watches baseball but not a super fan, not saying not in a bad way, but not a super fan. I love my Astros, obviously. But can you just I'm not trying to make it long. I'm not honestly asking, my bad for going off the cuff. But can you break down to me like what happened in that moment for it to lead to that brawl? Like what was the lead up? I know you said the pitch, but like was there anything before? Because it seemed like they was like after they he threw the ball to second, they tried to take the dude out. It's like they stared at each other for a second, like, what you want to do? Like, you go do something? What you trying to do? And then they charged at each other, like, what led up to that? Is there some hidden beef going on? Did he do
I
something
speak.
for that?
I speak to that. It was some words exchanged, and it was some words. It was some words after that. After the throwdown, the second, it was some words exchanged that were kind of like I'm willing to do. I'm with whatever that you on. So and you know, I look at it like that. The pitch didn't help. The pitch didn't help. The stare down also contributed to it. So it got to the point, like past that point. I think Soler was ready to go because you seen he charged the mound. He was ready to go from that point on. And I think that it was some words said because you got to think about it. Guys throw at your head. It's not something that you just gonna like brush off as just incidental because like I said, it's one of those things where like if they injure you, now you can't provide. Now you can't go out there and help your team. Now you're on the shelf. So it's one of those things where we've seen guys, get the ball thrown at their head all the time, or we've seen a wild pitch be, interpreted as something, intentional. So I look at it like that was one of those situations where, the Angels may have needed that motivation or that boost just as much as the Braves did. So, ain't no telling if there were words said beforehand, like before, because like I said, when you see a team 3 to 4 games straight, there's no telling if they had words probably prior, before the game, or even during the game. So I think it was some words said that also led up to that altercation, though.
Okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to get out. So appreciate that breakdown. My bad,
So,
X.
so the other thing that also might have contributed to this, from what I'm hearing, is that Jorge Soler is known to be able to hit straight dingers off of Ronaldo Lopez. Like he hits a lot of home runs off of him. And the rumor is that Lopez may have honestly have just been tired of it. But it's never an excuse to throw a pitch at somebody. But like KB said in the beginning of this whole thing, I don't want to blatantly say that he purposely threw a pitch at this man because we watch pitches that can go wild all the time. They can go all over the plate. And sometimes guys get hit as a result of it. But you brought up the point, KB, of this could be things that help the Angels down the line. I think it's something that could be beneficial for both teams, seeing how they all came there and they were all there to back their quote unquote brother on their team. Because sometimes you need moments like this to really help bring a team together. And the Braves have at least had some form of success in past recent years. The Angels haven't made playoffs since 2014. And we're all waiting to see if Mike Trout can have a big postseason moment. This could be a moment that could help rally that team in a way that maybe they actually are able to make some noise this year. Should be noted that they play in the American League West, so we don't know how they're going to end up performing. But you just never know how things like this will end up helping the team. I don't see it hurting either team in either way because nobody was out there picking sides in terms of, well, this is my friend and this is this. Austin Riley is somebody who was a part of that 2021 run with the Braves and was teammates with Jorge Soler during a very special time for the Atlanta Braves in the city of Atlanta. And he was out there backing his guy, Ronaldo Lopez, 100%, as he should have been. So we'll see how things continue to develop with this for both teams throughout the season. But we do know that for the next 7 games, neither one of those guys are going to be out there, unfortunately. Hopefully, that's not something that has long-term ramifications for those teams either as they continue to go throughout the season. Baseball just started. It's the course of 162, so shouldn't have an effect too long on things. But yeah, I'm with what KB said there too, though. It's nice to see a fight and to see some actual competition happen as opposed to some of all this buddy stuff that we're starting to see in sports. That's not what sports is really about, especially on the professional and competitive levels where there are real things that are on the line here.
The only thing I will say I did not agree with what Ronaldo did. Now I understand Soler, that's a big dude. Can't hit nobody with no baseball, man. You can cause some serious damage with that baseball, man. I don't see you don't see people have brain hemorrhages just from getting hit in the head by a baseball, let alone you swinging at baseball. I understand, like I said, in a fight, I guess all things will go, but it's just like, man, that thing could have went left real quick. You know what I'm saying? Because had he been knocked out and he suffered some real like damage, because I think the impact caught most of the helmet, if I'm not mistaken, from where he swung it at. I think it caught most of the side of the helmet, so that was the good part of it. But man, that could have ended badly, and he could have got suspended more because he actually used a weapon. Because it ain't no different if folks were to grab a bat and try to use it in a fight. You know what I'm saying? Because it's too many things that can happen that can go wrong. So and I ain't gonna lie, I rock with my dog, but that was crazy when he grabbed that. I knew he had it in his hand, but when I saw the replay and I saw the impact that he came down with, he said, he just came down with it. I said, yeah, I don't know if I knew a suspension was coming, but I thought they were going to give him more because of the fact that he used the ball as a weapon as opposed to just his fist, a closed fist. So, yeah, he kind of fortunately he only got 7 games, but at least it happened earlier in the season as opposed to if you were trying to make a run to win your division and we really needed you. So I'm glad it happened when it did.
More big things happening in the city of Atlanta. The Atlanta Dream have a new star on the team. Trade was made on Monday for Angel Reese from the Chicago Sky to the A for his pair of first-round draft picks. And now the title odds for the Atlanta Dream have increased significantly higher since this acquisition. KB, I know the city got to be going crazy right now.
This is the exact type of place that she needs to be in. The city's going to get behind her no matter what. And then she's adding to a team that honestly, they can only go up from here. Ryan Howard's still the superstar of the team, but then you add one of the league, if not the league's best rebounding forward. And I think that this move, you don't really see too many trades happening in the W, if you really want to be completely honest. You don't really see too many trades. Like when I heard that, I seen some people even being critical of the first round picks. And I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you, X. The way I look at first round picks is the same way I look at them in the NBA. When you're competing, unless you got a GM that's on some Sam Presti type of behavior, when you're competing, I ain't gonna say F them picks, but it's not as significant as some teams that actually really need those picks to be able to reconstruct their entire roster. I love the move because, like I said, we had seen that Chicago had been flirting with the idea of trading Angel Reese before, and I think why not now? like this is the perfect time. And I think this is the perfect move for her because now she can go ahead and go to a new environment. She can go to a team that still has, championship aspirations that they made a lot of strides last year. So I think that Atlanta is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think that, you know, hey, this is gonna help the Dream sell some tickets too. If you don't think so, look at what them tickets are looking like for the home opener against the Las Vegas Aces. You got Angel Reese going against Asia Wilson. Hey, I'm just gonna say it's gonna be some must see TV. I think that's gonna help them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had a significant number of games going on in State Farm this year, just because of the fact that she's now in Atlanta, which is a major city that's gonna, like I said, is gonna embrace her from the start. I've already seen a lot of love being shown her way. I've seen her showing a lot of love to the city, so this is gonna be a good thing, and I think that she's gonna embrace it. I think that she's gonna try her hardest to, help them get to the top because I know that's good for her and her brand as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Matt, what do you think Angel Reese and her presence is going to do not only for the team but the city of Atlanta?
Marvelous things. It's gonna light the city on fire in a good way, in a positive way, in a productive way. Angel Reese going to Atlanta is KD going to the Warriors. Angel Reese is going to be able to take them to the next level. I'm not saying as far as how dominant the KD Warriors were, 'cause it's not going to be that. It could be because they were the top seed in their conference, top three overall. They won 30 games last season. They were a good team. I think Angel Reese is that piece that missing. When I say KD to Warrior, I mean how big of a news it is in the sport. That's what I mean by that. Like when KD went to Warriors, we're like, what the hell? It kind of caught everybody off guard. And it's kind of the same thing here. It's like, what are y'all doing? And I know we talking about Atlanta, but let's give a backstory to Chicago. When Angel Reese first got there, her opening press conference was some BS with Chicago. If people don't know about it, go back and look at it. It was then like in the cafeteria, felt like. From there, they did okay, they did decent, but they wasn't winning. Angel made the comment, "Hey, I'm not putting up with this losing. This is not something I want to do every season. Yada yada yada." I'm paraphrasing, but she was pretty much saying like, "We losing a lot. I'm not with it. Some moves need to happen. If don't, I don't know how long I can spend my career here." It's kind of crazy to say to the public, to the media, but she said it. What happened from that? They suspended her half a game. She got suspended half a game. She came back. She sat out the rest of the season because she was hurt, quote unquote. Not saying she was lying, but that's what she said. She was hurt. Sat out the rest of that season, and she never played another game for Chicago. And she got up out of there. What's up, X?
I gotta bring up one point since you're gonna go all the way in with Chicago, where things really probably fell even further off the rails, and that was them firing Teresa Weatherspoon after just one season.
That's probably what started it, X. I'm glad you said that. If we're going all the way back, we might as well go all the way back. That's probably what started it when they fired her. And Angel was very vocal about them firing her. She did not like that. So we fast forward here. She was suspended for half the game. She sat out the rest of the season because she was hurt, and now we here, and now she's in Atlanta. I think Angel Reese is in the perfect spot to become a cultural phenomenon based on who she is as a person, her name, and the city of Atlanta for what Atlanta is, the Black Mecca it is, Black Hollywood, as some people say. With HBCUs in the city, with her already having a culture brand herself, she can just continue to build on that. But at the end of the day, keep the main thing, Angel. You got to go out there on the court and perform. This team was already good before you got there. I just said they was the number one seed in that conference. They was top three overall. They won 30 games. So they can't take a step back now that you're there. You got to get in when you fit in. You got to make it work, and you got to help them get over the hump and get to a championship. But I think the Angel Reese jersey can be one of the highest selling jerseys in the city of Atlanta. I ain't saying she gonna be rivaling some of the biggest football athletes, but I'm saying for her status and who she is and what the WNBA currently is, it could be one of the highest selling jerseys. She got to make visits to the HBCUs, to the colleges out there, and PWIs. I'm just making about the HBCU thing and PWI, all of it, because it's all mixed in Black culture, and she comes from our coaches just based on who she was, from her being at LSU to her going to being from being the Bayou Barbie to her going to Chicago, still building her brand and being one of the biggest names in WNBA and when she was in college. So I think it's going to be a fantastic thing, especially off the court. But if we're just talking on the court, she has to fit in when she get in because this was already a good team and they got some hoopers. I mean, Ryan Howard is a hooper. We talking about rival to Caitlin Clark. That's really a rival to Caitlin Clark. She was a five pick. She put up 20 plus a game. She do her thing. She led her team to a best record. She's been there. She's been a hooper. So Angel got to get in there and fit in. It's not a team she's going to that sucks and they bring her in to be the savior. It's a team she's going to that's already winning, already good. We need you to fit in and be that missing piece and hopefully take us over the hump.
Yeah, we'll have to wait to see what ends up happening here. We thought that when she ended up with Chicago, that was going to be a good fit, but didn't expect the Sky to turn into a mess so quickly as they did because they weren't too far removed from winning a WNBA championship when they drafted Angel Reese. That season that Candace Parker was there and they were able to put everything together, and then like everything just completely unraveled and fell apart. But Angel, welcome to the city. Everybody's going crazy right now. I know the black women in my life, they are absolutely excited that she is there. And I'm with KB. This is going to sell some tickets for the Atlanta Dream for sure. Let's transition to the NBA. And it's time to talk about everybody's favorite topic, the latest on Giannis and the Bucks. Oh, man. So reports came out this week that Giannis reportedly requested a trade multiple times this season. Now, we first started hearing slight little rumbles about him not being happy about things in Milwaukee going back to 3 and 4 years ago, but they just would not entertain any type of trade offers for him then. And we are now at a point in 2026 where the injuries are now adding up. And I don't know what the realistic trade package is that they can get for Giannis at this point that honestly would be beneficial for them. Matt, I'm going to let you go ahead and take the cake on this, and I'm going to just simply pose the question like this. How bad did Milwaukee fumble this?
Oh, they did a horrible job. Well, let's not be so harsh on them. They did a bad job. But no.
No, you were right the first time. They did a horrible job.
No, seriously, man. It's like I would give them credit. It's like it's really like how can I put this? It's like giving someone credit for trying. Like, even though they did a bad job, at least you didn't give up. At least you gave it a try. So you get like, not saying we're giving participation trophies out. It's like you just tried, and the Bucks tried. I can't say they didn't give it a go. I mean, the moves they were making were just bad moves. If we're being honest, they just made horrible moves. They got a generational talent in their building. He already won y'all championship. He already won two MVPs. He already won a defensive player of the year. He was in his prime, 26, 27 years old after winning the first championship and Lord knows how long. And from there, it's just been downhill like a sled since then. And like I said, they made attempts to make the team better, but it never worked out. We have to go back until when they first traded for Damian Lillard and they traded Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday left and went where? To the Boston Celtics. And what did he do there? Win a championship. He's a winning player. Not saying Dame's not, but all of us thought, most of us thought, putting Dame with Giannis would be generational, would be the best thing, the best combo in the league, and it ended up not being that. So it's like it's hard to fault them for that. But let's move forward. They end up cutting Dame, signing Miles Turner to a big contract, lost all their big pieces, traded Middleton, traded everybody else, kept Bobby, and traded everybody else. And now we here with no cap space. Dame money is still on the books because we just cut him. Didn't trade him, just flat out cut him. So his money is still on the books, $15-20 million, depending on how they spread it apart every year. We have no wiggle room to go sign anybody big because we don't have the cap space. And we hardly ever get any good draft picks because we traded those. So it's just like I was saying at first, they tried. They just made a lot of bad decisions. And one thing, and I'm not gonna let Giannis skate because he's at fault too. Mainly because he got his coach fired that had him at a good record. You did that, Giannis. You got to sit in that. Whatever he was doing, whatever Griff was doing that you didn't like, it was working to make the team better. You got him fired because you didn't like whatever he was doing. You thought you can make it work with whoever's over the head coach. And now you got Doc Rivers, and now Doc is about to be scapegoated and be fired and probably go retire after this. Doc probably not going to want to put up with coaching again after this. I know they said it rubbed him the wrong way. Shams reported that it rubbed the team the wrong way when Doc went in the locker room and said, I, I coached on championship teams, and this not one of them. It's some honesty. It might hurt. But did he lie? X, did he lie though? That's the thing.
No, he didn't lie. But I'm glad you brought that up because if you didn't, I was going to bring it up for sure. The moment that this ship started sinking to the bottom of the ocean was when you fired a head coach that had you at 30-13 and you brought in Doc Rivers. I'm not saying that to disrespect Doc, but you completely threw off the chemistry of the team at that point. Adrian Griffin was building something over there. And no, Doc didn't lie, even though that '08 title has bought him a lot of time in this league, no doubt about it. But he did not lie because they have not performed up to the standard. And this was very easy to see coming to a degree, though, because you were watching in real time a few seasons ago as Middleton was not able to stay healthy and was only getting older. Drew Holiday was getting older, but he was giving you everything he had. This was easy to kind of see this coming, that eventually it was inevitable that the only way the Milwaukee Bucks were going to properly be able to rebuild their organization going forward just for the sake of the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis was going to be the piece that you were going to have to move to try to get anything back in return that gives you a good chance of properly rebuilding your organization in a respectable period of time.
I think that they definitely fumbled this because I think that now Giannis being older, like I said, like we've said on a couple of the previous episodes, game hasn't really developed much. Like he still is the same. I think he's still dominant, like when healthy, but his game has not really, developed into much of anything that we've already seen him being at. And now he has the injury concerns also. So he's older, play style is gonna probably warrant a lot of injuries coming his way. I think that they definitely fumbled the bag on this one because, like I said, when his value was at its highest, I thought that they could have moved him then, especially when, like you said, that was the start of their downfall when they fired Adrian Griffin. I don't care what nobody said. I've been the biggest advocate for that. And I think that the multiple trade requests, that you're begging for attention at this point because, like I said, if you really wanted to go, we can make that happen. I know that Milwaukee is going to keep saying that they're going to do what's best for the organization. They're going to take the best package. But if y'all really wanted to trade that man, it was times where that was definitely more on the table than ever before.
Nah, this is a bit of a two-way street, though. Because yes, they could have done that, but would Giannis have been willing? Not that he doesn't have a no trade clause agreement in his contract. So ultimately, you would think that this doesn't matter. But he is now on a short-term contract too because he's set to be a free agent after the 2027 season. If I have to go to a team that had to empty everything they had just to acquire me, am I even in a much better situation at that point?
But that's the
No,
situation.
more than likely not.
But that's the situation that you're gonna find yourself doing because, like I said, I can understand a couple of years ago wanting to make that Giannis commanded that much, but literally any team that would have traded for him would have had to dump so much to get an aging superstar that pretty much is who he is at this point. He's an aging superstar. But he's gonna be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't 27-year-old Giannis right now. So you're looking at it like, yeah, he's still great when healthy. But that is the thing though. When he is healthy, we're getting a what, top 5 player. Okay, cool. Now how much do we have to give up? Because he's trying to come to a situation where he's gonna be able to, have if you want to say a 1B or even a number 2. But there's no telling that even we're talking about some of the trade packages. You're talking about like even if they were talking about going to San Antonio. San Antonio would have to give up a lot of the things that have gotten them to the number 2 seed this year. They would have to give up so many pieces just to make the trade work itself out. So it's not like you could say, yeah, I want to go play with this team because they have all these great players, but you do realize from a team standpoint, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to want what they feel like is equal compensation, which is going to be some first round picks. It's going to be some role players. It's going to be some players that are ready to start right now so that they don't have to go. They can go through somewhat of a soft rebuild, not as much as a hard rebuild. That's really what it is. But I felt like that similar to the Trae Young situation, when his value was at the highest, that is when you should have explored more trades than anything before. Now that his trade value has diminished some, teams aren't willing to sell the farm for you. They aren't willing to do that. Your value was highest. Even if you want to talk about the year that they fired Adrian Griffin, his value was higher than it is now. He had more going for him now. I mean, back then than he does now. He had less injuries. He had, his team, I think, was number 2 in the East. They had things going for themselves. So, like, if you were going to blow it up, don't wait till the situation's already bad and then try to blow it up then, because now it's like teams ain't willing to play ball with you. You don't have the leverage that you once had. So I do think they fumbled it along the way, because this process has just been a recurring cycle. Giannis gets frustrated with team losing. He requests a trade. Then the trade goes public. Then he goes back once in there, and then they flirt trade ideas for so many months to end up in the same position over and over again. It's honestly an exhausting cycle.
And don't leave out this part. We ultimately end up coming back to, at the end of the day, things that are being said like legends don't chase, they attract, only for things to end up going sideways once again.
That post was corny as hell. And I'm not gonna lie. Like, I thought that was one of the weakest posts, because you're making it seem like that someone leaked this. You said this. You were the one that wanted all of this attention. Then you're saying that, oh, legends attract. Well, if that was the case, why did you demand a trade in the first place? Why didn't you just try to recruit? But you know that nobody wants to come to Milwaukee. Milwaukee is not a desirable destination. Nobody's just like, you know how the NBA players been talking about Memphis hotels and stuff lately? That's exactly what people probably think of Milwaukee. It's not a desirable place. Anybody who's listening from Milwaukee, I'm not trying to clown on y'all. I promise I'm not. But let's just be honest. Ain't nobody vacationing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, of all places. We're not doing it. So nobody's going to convince me that Giannis wants to come and he wants to stay, and then he is going to be able to attract free agents. Like I said, the Drew Holiday thing, that was cool. That was y'all's lane. Drew Holiday would be the type of player that you could get in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform. But you are not, and even Dame, that was not Dame's preferred destination when he was traded.
And that's part of why that also didn't work out, because you could tell from day one he had no interest in wanting to be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Thank you. I think Dame at the time wanted to be in Miami.
You got to make that point, X. And I'm glad you said that, because that got to be a point that he never wanted to be there. And that played into the reason why it didn't go as well, because he never wanted to be there. And they thought they can force the issue and do a Kawhi Leonard with Toronto, but it didn't happen like that, because he never wanted to be there. And I'm glad you said it, KB, because a lot of stuff that Giannis does do and has been doing has been lame and has been childish. And I always said, if you go stand on it, stand on it. If you want to be traded, trade it. But don't do all this back and forth with the media, back and forth with the fans, back and forth with the management, like you don't know what you want to do. And then you make it seem like everybody else is tripping for talking about it. Make a decision, stand on it, and move on. But don't do all this back and forth and saying all these other slick comments like it's us, and we just going off how you acting. So I definitely agree with you 100% there. And like I said, I'm a Giannis fan, but at the end of the day, you got to call out how you see it.
Yeah, KB, you said Giannis still is a top 5 player at best. Matt knows where I'm gonna go with this, because I brought this up a couple of weeks ago in our group chat. I said, to me, he's a top 10 player now at this point, no longer a top 5 player.
That's fine. I'm actually not mad at that. Like I said, really, it gets exhausting talking about him at this point, because it's literally like you're bringing on every situation that you're involved in. And honestly, that is the reason why I do not feel sorry for you. Like, literally, I do not care. If you get traded, cool. If you don't get traded, cool. Don't care. I remember when it was a thing that the Warriors were even trying to get him and pair him with Steph. that dream is dead now, and I'm actually glad because nobody wants to go through the saga each time that you're frustrated with y'all losing. If Doc Rivers was that important for y'all, I'm glad y'all got y'all's guy. I still think he holding on to that '08 championship ring like it's gold. I still think that I've never seen someone get so much out of one. The way that the '08 Celtics are discussed, or the way they discuss themselves, you would have thought they had a dynasty up there. And I swear that they did not have it. I think that people do forget that '08 championship run was one of the most overrated runs that we can honestly point back to. They did not beat anyone like that people thought they were. They went 7 games with the Hawks, 6 games with the Cavs, 6 games with the Pistons.
They went 7 with the Cavs.
Oh, okay, even worse. So they went 7 with the Cavs and 6? I think 6 with the Pistons.
They went 6 with the Pistons and they went 6 with the Lakers.
So they didn't do anything that warranted them talking about this ring he went like they were the 0-1 Lakers or nothing. Like y'all can stop missing me with that, man.
So I'm gonna tell you why that '08 ring probably gets as much reverence as it does. I agree with you in terms of the playoff run not being very impressive, but the overall season in itself was very impressive because they went from being one of the worst, if not the worst team from the previous season to being the best team the very next season. Yes, there were trades that were made along the way for Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett to bring them in there with Paul Pierce and a young Rajon Rondo. And if you want to throw Kendrick Perkins' name in there for what he was as an interior defender for that team, him too. That's why that ring probably gets so much reverence. Now, I'm with you. They were not a dynasty in any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. They had a chance to get a second ring, and if Kendrick Perkins doesn't go down in Game 6 of the 2010 NBA Finals with that torn ACL, maybe we're having a different conversation about that. But the reality is, we're not. And as far as Doc Rivers and his tenure in Milwaukee goes, all you need to know is he went to the podium this week and told everybody he's looking forward to seeing his grandchildren more. That should tell you that he's already been told that he will not be back in Milwaukee.
I tell you what, though, if I'm a player, I see why there is frustration. Two things can be true. Yeah, we could be playing some selfish basketball. Cause I know he called out Kevin Porter and Ryan Rollins as far as their play, and I think Kuzma spoke up for them, and that led to a whole thing. But one thing Doc Rivers ain't finna do is just throw a championship in my face like that. Oh, like you was just this. Like he gets thrown in conversations that I still have. He's had some great teams. For him to have that one ring, it is an understatement of how disappointing that is. So you're not going to come and call a team, like in a team meeting setting, and say that, oh, I've done this. That's cool. You got a lot of wins, but you have been underwhelming as a head coach. And not just in your tenure in Milwaukee, but if we're going to call it for what it is, in the league as well, because you've had great teams and you haven't gotten the best out of all your teams either. You telling me that you ain't get those Lob City Clippers to at least a Western Conference Finals, and yet you want me to look at you as a great coach? Miss me with that. You had Philly. Miss me with that. You had these great teams, and you're going to tell me that you couldn't get more out of what you got? No, I'm so good on you. You can have that.
Part of where I think the disconnect is with Doc and that current Milwaukee Bucks team, though, and Matt, you might agree with this and you might not agree with what I'm about to say, but I think there's a point to be made in this. Most of the players that he has on that team, or at least guys like a Kevin Porter Jr. and definitely like a Ryan Rollins, are they even old enough to remember watching the '08 Celtics win a championship? Are they old enough to remember seeing Doc Rivers on the sidelines in the NBA Finals?
Probably not. If I had to guess, I would say probably not. So I agree with y'all. Y'all nailed this perfectly, and it's unfortunate that it's ending like this, but we'll see what happens with the Bucks going forward, and if they can finally get Giannis out of there and get him traded. And at this point, if I was the Bucks, I would just try to get him out the building. I'm not even worried about the package I get. I would try to get the best package I can get from whoever is willing to give it to me. But it's like I'm not. I wouldn't even want to hold on to this anymore.
So there is one team in particular, and I've been standing on this since day one of us having this discussion going back months ago, that I think could make the trade for him and Milwaukee could get good assets back in return. I don't know if Giannis would want to go here, But if he is about trying to continue to have championship aspirations, that would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, all of this is going to be based upon what OKC's playoff run looks like this year. Shea has been magnificent. Y'all know I feel that he's the best player in the world. He's locked up that second straight MVP. Wemby gave him a good run for it this time around, but it's over with. The race is over. Shea is going to win his second straight MVP. But J-Dub hasn't been able to be there for a good chunk of the season. Even though he is back now, he's still kind of off and on in terms of being in the lineup. They still got a slew of draft picks that they're working with here. If Oklahoma City does not perform in the postseason how they expect to, and part of the reason to that is because the players that they have surrounding Shea don't perform how they need them to perform. Do y'all not see a world where Oklahoma City might decide, all right, you know what? Let's go all in. We got this generational star right here in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Let's just go all in. Let's go get another player who is another generational talent that we can put with him right now. And let's try to go get the most that we can get out of this right now compared to trying to build the next San Antonio Spurs type of dynasty like they had under Popovich, Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see them pushing all their chips in and going after Giannis because, like I said, you want to keep that window open as long as you can. And when I say the window is wide open, it's as open as it's probably ever been in your franchise history. Even if you're talking about, like you're gonna have to give up some key players in that scenario. You're going to part ways with some of those guys that are like, beloved by the fans and, what I'm saying, key contributors on last year's championship team. But like I said, opportunity to add a top 10 player while pairing him with possibly a two-time MVP, you don't get too many opportunities to do that. And like I said, this is an opportunity where you still have great coaching and you still going to, like, even while you're giving up some pieces, you're still retaining some pieces in that scenario as well.
And I want to add one more piece to this point. And Matt, this is where I want you to chime in on this too. I think this process has been escalated even further with what we see Wemby and the Spurs doing this year. Because if they don't win it this year, as long as he continues to stay healthy, grow, and develop as a player, Stephon Castle continues to develop as a player, Dylan Harper continues to develop the way that they have, it feels like this is going to be San Antonio's world and everybody else is just living in it in a little while. And that's another reason I can see OKC ultimately, if they don't do what they need to do in this postseason to what they believe they should do, going ahead and saying, all right, let's pull the trigger. While there's still somewhat of a window open for us, we better go ahead and take it.
Oh yeah, that'd be. I mean, Giannis is still a good player, right? I don't want to discredit the player he is. He's still a great player. He still has. I know X doesn't have minutes top five. He still has top five potential, and he's still a player that can still perform. So if I'm a team that can buy low on a player like Giannis for a Bucks situation that's trying to get rid of him, I would do it. And especially if I'm a team like OKC who has built a foundation, who has learned how to develop players, who has a front office that knows what they're doing. And you have a litany of picks that you can trade and stars on your team that you can get rid of to make it fit. So if I am OKC, I would definitely consider trading for Giannis, especially if I don't win the championship this year. And with SGA getting MVP this year, I think this is probably gonna be, in my opinion. That's why I'm an advocate for him getting it this year over Wemby. Wemby's probably gonna be MVP for the next in the conversation for the next 10 years. Either he go win 3, 4 over the next 10 years. So I'm like, why are we rushing to give it to him? Just give it to the person who deserves it. SGA deserves it, give it to him. We ain't got to rush to give the Wemby. Wemby go get his time to shine. So with them coming and all these other young teams coming, OKC will definitely have to move because just last season, even though they won the championship, y'all, they didn't look unbeatable. If Hollenberg had played that whole game, who knows how that game would have went? Who knows how that game would have went and Hollenberg would have played that whole game? So it's just like you got to make moves to constantly improve. J Dub not becoming the star superstar player they may thought he was. So why not go get a guy that's proven like Giannis? And then SGA, he's not like a young kid like Chet and J Dub anyway. He's an older player. So why not pair him with another older player and see what they can do together to hold off a player like Wemby and the Spurs?
Now, again, that's the only team I could see potentially working in both teams' favor. That Knicks dream, that's over with. That I don't even know how that would benefit Giannis in that case. I don't see it benefiting the Bucks because I feel like they'd be getting a bunch of glorified role players in return and a couple of draft picks that I don't know how good those draft picks in terms of where they would be in draft order. I don't know how good that would actually be for them. The Lakers, I don't want to see that just for the simple fact that they need to fill out that roster more so around Luka and Austin Reeves, as opposed to trying to go get another superstar player to put with them. Yeah, it sounds good on paper, but if you don't have those other pieces, because this is now the league of parity again. And the league hasn't been the league of parity, honestly, since the 70s and early 80s. But this is not the super team era anymore. You can't just put a bunch of stars together on a team and expect it to automatically be in championship contention. So I don't necessarily think that would be the best fit. OKC is the best fit to me for both parties involved. OKC, they get the superstar they need to pair next to Shea, and it takes some of the load off of Shea as well. And Milwaukee, I don't know if Jalen Williams is going to continue to develop into the superstar, the star player at least, that it looked like he was becoming a year ago. But it is worth at least taking a waiver out on that. And of course, the main component being the draft picks. OKC has the draft picks because they have draft picks from other teams that foolishly continue to trade with Sam Presti, who is the only general manager in the league who really knows what he's doing with draft picks when he gets them like that. So we'll continue to watch as this saga continues to play out. But like KB already said, man, and Matt, I'm sure you pretty much echo these sentiments too. I'll just be glad when this is all over and it's resolved and everybody can just move on and continue to live the rest of their basketball lives. Speaking of teams that are moving on, the Chicago Bulls, and this will be our final topic tonight, they cleaned house this week, cleaning out house with firing their GM, their executive vice president of basketball operations. Those are two moves that absolutely needed to happen because the reason the Bulls claim that they moved off of 7 players at the trade deadline, including Kobe White, is because they wanted to put themselves in a better position for this upcoming NBA draft to have draft lottery odds of landing a top 3 pick. Well, that's not going to end up happening. They did not significantly improve their draft odds. They are planning to keep Billy Donovan as the head coach, though. Now, there were strong rumors that he was going to end up taking a job at North Carolina. I believe he might have ended up entertaining it if maybe the transfer period was not on its way around. But you saw what Reinsdorf came out and said a couple of days ago, saying any executive that doesn't want to keep Billy Donovan is not the executive that we need for the Chicago Bulls. Listen, Billy Donovan was a great college basketball coach. He is one of the best college basketball coaches of my lifetime. I'm not saying of all time, but of my lifetime. What he did with Florida was absolutely incredible. He walked into a situation in OKC where he had 2 superstars on that team already with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and went to the Western Conference Finals. From that point forward, what else has this man done in his NBA career from the remainder of his time at OKC to the time that he's had with the Chicago Bulls?
Nothing. I'm literally I was talking to my friend FaZe about this earlier today. He sent me a text saying like when they announced that Billy Donovan was going to be a strong candidate to help pick the next GM and person and leadership, I was just like, what does Billy Donovan got on the Chicago Bulls? I need to figure it out because it's got to be something. It got to be something he got on the ownership group. Something he got on them. Something he might got something on Michael Jordan himself. Because what is he doing to garner all this power in one organization? No one man should have all this power. Shout out to Kanye West. But I don't understand it because he has been a below average average at best coach since he's been in Chicago. So X, I'm as confused as you. I need the beat writers in Chicago to send Xavier McKnight some information about what's going on in Chicago with Billy Donovan. Why are y'all still holding on to this man? Why haven't they let him go? Is the pressure? Is the media not speaking up hard enough out there in the area? Are y'all used to mediocrity? Do we want to move on and be a better organization, or what's going on? So I don't understand it. He hasn't been a good coach for some time now. He had a short little run at OKC, but outside of that, he hasn't really done much. And he showed spurts with Chicago this season. Earlier this season, they looked pretty good, and then they became back to the same Chicago we always knew. And then the upper management is no good. Paying Patrick Williams was crazy for a play. I know he was a top five pick, but y'all paid him what $80 million and he don't do nothing. Paid him. You got Josh Giddey who looked pretty good but got hurt. Traded Kobe White. He gone. Now he in Charlotte doing good things over there. Had the Rosen, Zach LaVine all on the same team at one time. That was a crazy experiment. Now you ship them off to Sacramento, another team that doesn't know what they're doing. So it's just like between the management and the coaching and everything in between, I don't know what's going on in Chicago. And it's sad because it's a beautiful city, right? I don't know if you ever been to Chicago. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful sports town. It is a town that gets behind their sports teams. They love their sports teams. And they
So one,
will
I got to add one point to what you're saying right now. Despite the mediocrity that's been taking place in Chicago for a good chunk of the last 15 years, outside of the COVID season, they lead the NBA in attendance.
exactly. They love their team. They still show up and support them. They still show up and buy tickets, leading in attendance, even though they ain't done nothing in the last 20 years, really. And it's like, what are y'all giving? What are y'all gonna do to support these fans? The fans, y'all gotta do something. Y'all gotta stand up. Y'all gotta boycott. Y'all gotta make something happen because they feel like they can keep giving y'all this mediocrity and y'all keep supporting it. And y'all gotta let them know that this is not okay. We need to move on and do better. So it's unfortunate. We'll see what happened. I don't know if the Chicago Bulls got scared because Billy Donovan was potentially to go back to college, so they felt like they had to give him what he wanted to stay. But let him go. That's how I feel. Let him go. But they obviously think differently.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let him go because this is actually a time period where I believe that if they swung for the fences, they probably actually could have ended up with a nice, big, splashy name. Dare I say, even a name like Steve Kerr, because things have fallen apart in Golden State no matter how anybody looks at it. And it's not going to come back together because Steph Curry is older. This is not the situation that the Warriors were in 2020 where Steph was still in his absolute prime. And Steph is still a spectacular player. But the fact of the matter is he is in his late 30s now, closer to 40 than he is to 30. Draymond's getting older. It's just not going to end up coming back together there. They're trying to keep that thing together with duct tape, and it's just not going to happen. Steve Kerr helped you win championships as a player in Chicago. He hit one of the game-winning shots in Chicago in the late 90s that helped you clinch a championship. And I'm sure that he has a great relationship still with the Reinsdorf family. To that Reinsdorf family point, and I'm going to toss to KB after this. Part of why this somewhat makes sense to me, Matt, is because this is a team that is owned by Jerry Reinsdorf. He's 90 years old. I don't know how much he's involved in the day-to-day operations with this team as much anymore. But what I do know is this. This man is also the same owner of the Chicago White Sox, who at the start of this decade looked like they had a promising thing that they were building over there. And then they fired their manager, bring in old Tony La Russa, who was approaching 80 years old, and just started trading pieces off of that team. And in 2024, they ended up with the worst record in the history of Major League Baseball that a team could have in a season. So dysfunctional things happening by teams that are owned by the Reinsdorfs, that doesn't surprise me necessarily. But it's pretty unfortunate that a city like Chicago that has fans that are still loyal to the core, despite the product that's being given to them, they're having to put up with this. KB, where are you at with the state of the Bulls?
Honestly, like I think is a symbol of dysfunction over there. I'm with y'all. I would have moved off Billy Donovan too because I don't believe in like if you're making all these regime moves, I don't see what the point of keeping a head coach that hasn't necessarily done anything to warrant you keeping him. Now, a lot of that hasn't been his fault. A lot of it has been his fault. A lot of it, when I say a lot of it hasn't been his fault because some of the roster construction, like the Patrick Williams point that was brought up, that Matt, I think Matt, you had brought that up. it didn't take a rocket scientist to see that you shouldn't have gave that man that money. I'm not even a Chicago Bulls fan. I know you shouldn't have gave that man that money. Like I said, held on, like your roster didn't make sense as far as like when you had, like, I think that the year that they had Lonzo, before Lonzo got hurt, and they were number one in the East, and they had a very run and gun type of offense that was very exciting. They played defense. They had a lot of things going for themselves. And once Lonzo got hurt, the wheels fell off. It fell off. You know, Caruso being a big part of that. That's when the team made the most sense to me, right? But then you get rid of those guys. Those guys are no longer on the team. Then you still go through those years with just constantly having DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nick Vucevic. You weren't ever going to be in a position to compete. So my thing is with the Billy Donovan situation, what is it that you are holding on to? Because it's not because he's been a mainstay of, and helped y'all win anything. Y'all don't go to the playoffs. Y'all consistently in the play-in tournament. I think that, saying like y'all are in the big three as far as like I remember the Hawks were in it until this season. The big three of mid. It was y'all, the Hawks, Miami Heat, Charlotte, if you want to even include them into this scenario. Like y'all have been a consistent playing team for most of Billy Donovan's tenure. Let's not pretend like y'all were just out here competing in the playoffs and going to wars. Like this is not a good situation to be in. Chicago fans, and like I said to the point, Chicago fans, one thing they're going to do because they supported the Cubs when they were bad, they support the Bulls when they were bad. The only team that I can say doesn't get as much support is the White Sox, but Chicago is a sports city. They going to come out and support. They support the hockey team, they support the basketball teams, and they support the football team. They're going to come out in droves for to support their teams. But it's a thing to be said is like you have to give them something to believe in. Like this past year with the Chicago Bears, that 1 year gave them hope. It gave them something to like believe in. I don't think that the Bulls have hope right now. I don't think that they have any direction. I think that them moving off key pieces to try to justify what they were trying to do is also stupid because now you don't have that top 3 pick that you were looking for in a very loaded draft. Like, well, as far as the top 3 to 4 picks, that is where I think that it's loaded at. Like whether you were going with AJ, whether you were going with Acov, whether you were going with Peterson, whether you were going with Boozer. Those 4 guys headline a draft, where, it's a lot of talent, a lot of potential in that draft. And you're not going to more than likely be in there. I don't see you getting a top 4 pick in this lottery. I mean, anything can happen, but I don't think so. So yeah, you moved off of a piece like Kobe White, you moved off a piece like Nikola Vucevic, and you're still in the same situation. You have not improved. So yeah, I think that if it was me, I would have blown the whole thing up, not blown up parts of it. I would have blown everything up, including the head coach. He would have been moved. He would have been let go as well. And then I would have said, let's rebuild from there. If we're gonna do a full rebuild, let's just go ahead and do it because we're not good right now.
Yep, I'm with you 100% all the way on this. I don't know where the Chicago Bulls are going to end up going from here, but they need to try to make some type of splash in that front office. And maybe they come to their senses and they realize that maybe Billy Donovan is not the answer. But what I will say is this. Y'all do realize that Steve Kerr could possibly return to the organization in a front office role too, though, right? Because he has a history of being a successful general manager in the league when he was with the Phoenix Suns for a few years during the Mike D'Antoni era with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire and that crew.
That would be actually amazing if Steve Kerr did that. I never thought of that, but I would love that. Especially when Curry coming to the end. I don't know if Steve Kerr may feel an obligation to stay with Curry until he retire. That may be the only hiccup. But outside of that, I think that would be a fantastic idea.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Matt. I don't necessarily think that he does because they didn't start off together. They started off winning championships together in terms of Steve Kerr's tenure as a head coach there, but it wasn't like Steph Curry got there and then Steve Kerr got there at the same time as him. I don't think there's as much loyalty to that as it is. And quite honestly, I'm curious to know what Steve Kerr's relationship is now like with the front office of the Warriors since Bob Myers has departed from the organization.
I
There's
was
no
just
way that he
thinking
is
that.
a fan of the moves that they have made over the past few years, outside of Jimmy Butler, of course.
But see, it's been a constant thing of those moves too. Even the not trading pies for what's my guy from Utah? Uh
Lori marketing.
Lori marketing. Like it's so many stupid moves that the Warriors have made in the past few years that I can't honestly believe that Steve Kerr could honestly, if it wasn't for Steph Curry, you could say Steph been saving that man job for a while. Because honestly, between the front office, because I think Mike Dunleavy's running the show now, and it's not going well at all. These moves, man, they because they don't make sense. When we're talking about moves that don't make sense, like you move off of Kuminga, which a lot of people criticize Steve Kerr's, inability to develop Kuminga, and you go get Porzingis, a guy who, while he is, super talented, his availability is always going to be a question mark. And for a team that's trying to get into the playoffs, that's not necessarily a thing that you need to be going after. So yeah, they did just made a bunch of crazy moves over there. I don't know what's going to happen with this Steve Kerr situation, but I don't think that they're going to necessarily tie Steph Curry's career to, allowing him that's going to be enough to keep him there because they want to let them finish it out together. Maybe it was because like now, what I'm saying, if they don't tie Clay, if they let Clay walk and they were willing to let Draymond go at a certain point, I think that all bets are off. Steph is the only untouchable on that team. And that includes Steve Kerr.
I gotta ask y'all though, at this point, do you think that Curry will finish with the Warriors? Do you think that there is a world where he ends up playing on somebody else's team?
I can't see it.
I can't. Nah,
I
not at this
can't.
point.
Yeah. That would break my heart.
Not
He
even
got to
not
go
even on a
like Tim
1 year.
Duncan. He got to go out like Kobe. He got to go out like them boys. Like D Wade going to Chicago, Cleveland, then back to Miami was crazy. He got to go out like Dirk. I can't see it. I'll be surprised, honestly. I won't be mad at Curry because I know he only doing it, but out of I still want to compete and I'm still a great player, and y'all not putting the pieces around me to compete. So I'd rather go somewhere else to still compete than stay loyal to an organization that's no longer doing what's necessary for me to win. Because like KB said, they was willing to trade Draymond just this season. And from reports said Draymond accepted that. They already let Clay go. So if they would let everybody that he came up with go except him, and he's sitting there by himself, and then if the head coach leave too, he might not have a choice but to leave. But I hate to see it.
And I want to say this too, because part of the reason that Draymond move was going to happen is only if they were able to acquire Giannis. Based off of all the reports that we had heard, I don't think that the Warriors are at a point anymore to where it's like we can just plug in another star and that's an easy fix. They need more than that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I don't see Steph at this point in his career. I think that it's just too much invested, too much time invested. Him being close to that 48, that 40 age, I just don't see even on a 1 year deal to go into I just don't think that's in him at this point to go do it because, like I said, he's still he's still dynamic. We just saw that when he came back against the Rockets. He still can get it done. But like I said, at this point in his career, it's not about him. It's about the pieces they put around him. And I don't have any confidence that they could put pieces around him to, get him. Not even just like they're struggling to just get in the playoffs because they can't win games. I think that they made a lot of questionable decisions over the past like couple of years when it came to certain personnel. And I think it's biting them in the butt now because now it's too late to go back. Because I'm telling you, Laurie Marketing would have been a warrior if I had anything to do with it. I don't care. Like at that point, you had to go off of necessarily what the potential. Like that was one of those situations. Like I know what Laurie Marketing is. I'm still waiting to see what Pozinski is going to be. And he is still the exact same player that he was when he was brought up in those rumors before. And that was going to be a straight up trade. may have been. I know they said it was going to be a straight up trade. I just can't see it. But if that's all they wanted at the time, and you chose not to take it, I mean, I see why people are critical. And they, Steve Kerr, he's going to have to accept the fact that people are going to always attest that he is not able to develop young talent. That is going to be something that he is going to have to live with. It didn't happen with Eric Paschal. It didn't happen with Jonathan Kuminga. It's not happening with Pods. It's just not something that he has done. Like, he's worked better with veteran talent. That's just him. So
we'll continue to keep our eyes on that developing situation with the Chicago Bulls and even the Golden State Warriors for that matter, because I honestly think that Steve Kerr could depart the organization after this season. Things have they've just gone off the rails, and a lot of that is due to injuries that happened throughout the season, but it's just time to move in a different direction because the Warriors dynasty, as you knew it officially ended after that 2023 season. I know they won the championship in 2022, but it ended after 2023 if we're being real with ourselves. So, of course, we'll continue to follow all of that. But that's going to wrap up this edition of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast episode. As always, we appreciate Matt coming in the building and chopping it up with us.
No problem, no problem, no problem. I appreciate y'all having me on. It's always a pleasure to be here and talk sports with y'all. Like X said at the beginning of the episode, he said I challenge him and he enjoys it and he challenged me and I definitely enjoy it. I'm always an advocate for a good sports debate and a sports conversation outside debate. And it's always good to talk to like-minded people that actually know what they're talking about and not people just saying whatever that comes in their mind for a hot take. You want to have cool, collected conversation, and I feel like I get that. Well, I know I get that every time I talk to y'all too, and when I come on this podcast. So I appreciate the platform.
And I just appreciate the fact that we're able to come on this platform and keep sports the main thing as sports topics. Because there are some things that are going on in sports media right now that are not doing that. I'm not going to get into that, but I appreciate what we're able to use this platform for. For Matt and KB, I'm X, and we're saying peace.